Only 12 days after the deadly fire in the Corsican bar in Crans-Montana, Swaziland of January 1st, 2026, the Corsican nationalist leader Alain Orsoni was shot dead while attending the very funeral of his mother in Corsica, with a single bullet in the heart from a long distance on January the 12th, 2026. So here you see him, Alain Orsoni. It says January 12, 2026, Alain Orsoni assassinated in Corsica. Only 12 days after the fire. You're not going to tell me this is not connected, eh? To me, the MO modus operandi smells Swiss octagon, with a high-powered Swiss precision rifle, just as a Swiss death squad tried to eliminate me. Eliminating loose ends, as it's called. Just as Swiss precision rifles killed many unarmed Ukrainian freedom fighters in 2014 during the Maidan uprising, which you can see in this video here from 12 years ago. So here it says Ukrainian copies of Swiss Brugger and Tommet APR rifles used during protests in Kiev. And here's the title on my channel, Gatsefrats, and in 2014. The Swiss military-industrial complex is a dangerous conglomerate with ties into the Swiss parliament, giving orders, well, etc. And a lot of links as well, so you can look it up. Alain Orsoni was the founder of the FLNC, as I've shown you in part 1, together with the nationalist ties in the logo of the constellation bar, like the big C and the big N for Corsica Nazione, the accentuated I for Indipendenza, and the geographical profile of Corsica. So here it says again, Alain Orsoni, the founder of the FLNC. Here he is, or was. And FLNC, that's the Corsican nationalist movement. The N for nationalist, Corsica, liberation, federation maybe. His best friend was a Moretti by the name of Michel Moretti, and same surname as Jacques Moretti of the Burn Bar. And Moretti died in 2008, the same year that Alain Orsoni's son, Guy Orsoni, was shot at with 48 bullets in his armored car, stopping all 48. So here you see Alain Orsoni. He died on January 12th. And here Michel Moretti. So here are the Morettis. It looks like a Hollywood film on the mafia, the Godfathers. So here is Michel Moretti, and here's Jacques Moretti, and this is Jessica Moretti. And now the question is, do they know each other, or are they related? Well, my guess is, yeah, sure. Alain's brother, Guy Orsoni, was assassinated in 2008 and who got revenge the same year, when the Corsicans, disguised as cops, entered the Ajaccio prison in Corsica and executed the 3 assassins inside the prison. Alan's father, André Orsoni, was a paratrooper and a World War II hero, served in the Vietnam War, but deserted the army when President de Gaulle, former General de Gaulle, betrayed France in 1962 by abandoning 2 million French civilians in Algeria, leaving them at the mercy of the Arabs. So he joined the OAS organization Army Secret, Organisation Armée Secrète, and tried to assassinate the traitor de Gaulle. So here you see the OAS fighters, original picture, and here it says OAS, Organisation Armée Secrète, Organization Army Secret. And you see the dagger going into the crescent moon of Islam. Here's Algeria, and I don't know what this is. Oh, this is the Lorraine Cross. As the goal, he was part of that. My grandfather already said it, apparently, that he was a traitor. My grandfather, he was an officer in the naval intelligence, British, during the war, and he already knew, apparently, that de Gaulle was a traitor. In 1973, this movie was made on the story of the OAS trying to get rid of the traitor de Gaulle, who betrayed 2 million French in Algeria, amongst whom relatively many Corsicans living in Algeria, who, with all reason, still feel betrayed by France until this very day. They still feel betrayed by the French, by France, and by the entire Western world. I've talked about the OAS in my previous videos and even filmed 9 years ago in Petit Clamart, Paris, where the OAS riddled the black presidential limousine of the traitor with bullets. So there was a sign here. Here you see this is part of Paris, a suburb. And here it says the OAS. And there are some more things in the video, so it's on the same channel. And here it says 2017. Here's the title. So the OAS. So I understand, and I've been talking a lot about this when I was in Corsica, that all of them, they still feel betrayed by the world, by the Western world, by France, etc. And this is also one of the things that actually led to the fact that there is no more respect. So that's why many go into the mafia. They were good people, not anymore. And they were betrayed so many times, and there's no more respect. And it ends up with 40 dead. But where did it start? It really started, one of the things with de Gaulle betraying 2 million French, of which there were many Corsicans. Many of the French civilians in Algeria were Corsicans, as Corsicans live all over Africa, as you can see here, and about which I will talk some more later, related to a huge French political scandal of the Corsican mafia infiltrating the highest of the French politics. So I read you a little bit more about it. It's about Corse-Afrique, Corsican Africa. In order to understand the 41 kids now dead in Crans-Montana related to the Corsicans, you must absolutely understand this, otherwise you will never understand what really happened and what the kids had to die for. So I'm sorry I have to read this for you. Corsicans have played a significant role in Africa, particularly during the French colonial era, comprising up to 22% of colonial administration in the 1930s. As I just told you, in the Le Bagne Papillon, 50% of the guards, they were Corsicans. They were all over the French colonies, because they already come from a hot climate, probably. And there's not much work there, so they went elsewhere. Despite representing less than 1% of the French population. So the Corsicans were the 1% of the French population. Yeah. Over 230,000 Corsicans lived in colonies like Algeria, 100,000 plus, Tunisia and Morocco, often forming tight-knit networks that influence both colonial and politics, including the France-Afrique network of influence. That's what I was telling you about. They infiltrated ministers in France of the French government, who were Corsicans as well. So the key aspects of Corsicans in Africa: colonial administration and settlements. Corsicans were heavily overrepresented in the French colonial administration, military and police forces across Africa. In the 1950s, 100,000 lived in Algeria, with some, like the Greeks from Cargèse, which is in Corsica, I knew that, migrating to Sidi Merouane. Corse-Afrique and business. Corsican networks, including the Brise de Mer, I'll tell you some more about it, related to Swaziland. Very important to know this. And it's related to Jacques Moretti. And business figures like Michel Thommy operated extensively in Africa, influencing politics and business in countries like Gabon and Congo. This guy, he's still alive, I think, and he's still living in Africa. Corsican Mafia. Historical interaction. Centuries earlier, Corsicans were impacted by Barbary raids, by the Arabs, with some captured individuals becoming slaves or renegades in North Africa, such as Hassan Corso and the Muradid dynasty in Tunisia. So the Arabs, they did Barbary raids in Europe, taking women but also slaves, and some of them were Corsicans who even became Muslims and still in the mafia. The return to Corsica. Following the independence of Algeria in 1962, approximately 18,000 pieds noirs, they were the French settlers. A pied, it means the foot, noir is black, the black feet, because there were white people, but on the black continent, so only with their feet, so to speak. Some of whom were of Corsican descent, returned to or moved to Corsica, heavily impacting the local wine industry. The criminal ties, the Corsican mafia has historically been active in North Africa and also Central Africa, about which I will tell you more. These networks of Corsican clans were crucial in bridging the French mainland, the island and the colonies, leaving a lasting mark on the geopolitical, economic and social landscape of French-speaking Africa. So many people say now, after the events, the tragedy of Crans-Montana, that how is this possible? The Corsicans, it's so far away. What are they doing in Swaziland? Even a lot of Swiss are saying this in the media and all that, especially Swiss Germans. Well, you must see it like this, from a Corsican just going to Crans-Montana in Switzerland. That's a small step. I mean, look at this map here. These guys are used to colonize Africa, and set foot in Africa, do their mafia in Africa, and be the military force, the police force for the French colonizers, like here, Gabon, here, and here in Algeria, and all this. So going to Crans-Montana is just a little step for them. It's nothing. These guys have been used doing this for hundreds of years. Going to Switzerland in a little, ski resort is absolutely nothing for these guys. They have such a tradition and so much experience in doing this. It's almost, you could say it's almost in their blood, probably. So going to Switzerland, that's just a tiny little step, that's nothing. So Alain Orsoni, the guy who died only 12 days after the Crans-Montana tragedy, he also had a pizzeria in Miami, Florida, and probably the Corsicans still own it, and probably a lot more than that. So here you can read about it. Alain Orsoni, and he died on January 12, 2026, 12 days after the tragedy of Crans-Montana. And he was a separatist militant, the founder of the FLNC, Canal Habituel Corsican, and his political wing, the movement of self-determination. It's also the Corsica Nazione, the CN as in the logo of the constellation bar. Here, he was a Corsican godfather, man of 7 lives, and from Vero. His father here, a war hero from the Second World War, and he fought in Algeria. He later joined the OAS, the Organisation Armée Secrète. Organisation Armée Secrète. I also took in an interview, a former French soldier who fought 5 years. He was a sergeant in Algeria, and he said the war in Algeria wasn't even against the Arabs. It was between the French and the French. And this guy was there as a sergeant for 5 years. The interview is in French on my channel, Gatsefrats. Why? Because the French army, de Gaulle, the French traitor, 2 million or 3 million French, a lot of Corsicans, in Algeria. They basically build Algeria, and the Arabs just take it. The same thing they want to do in the JJ base. They always let the others work for it, like the jaywalkers, and they claim it as theirs, and they would just want to take it. Whereas in North Africa, the Arab conquest, Islamic conquest, was in the 7th century, and they even came hundreds of years later in North Africa. So it's not even their country, It's all nonsense. So he was in the OAS. So the war in Algeria was basically between the OAS, a lot of Corsicans, against the French military. And a National Liberation Front of Corsica, the FLNC, etc. And here about his early life. So you can look it up yourself and read it. I'm not going to read it all for you. Here, the murder of G.I.U.R.E.H, his brother, I think it was in 2008. They die like flies there in Corsica. It's incredible. Yeah, collapse of the FLNC, and etc. Yeah, exile in the United States. Orsoni fled to Miami, Florida in 1996, where he opened a pizzeria. He even went to Nicaragua, Barcelona. Corsicans speak Italian. With Italian, you can understand everything in Spanish, The other way around, not. and he spoke, of course, French. So he was in Barcelona, in Nicaragua, in Florida. There's more people speaking Spanish than English. So you don't think he made any contacts with the cartels? No? Nobody's talking about it, eh? What about the cartels and Carlos Montana, Moretti? What about that? Eh? Yeah. The Orsoni narrowly escaped an assassination attempt carried out by the Brise de Mer. Now, this will become interesting. Brise de Mer. It's a Corsican criminal organization founded in the 1970s. I'll tell you some more about it because it's very much related to the tragedy in Carlos Montana. And here, the assassination finally, a couple of days ago. On January 12, 2026, Orsoni was shot and killed while attending his mother's funeral in Corsica. I mean, the American movie The Godfather is nothing compared to this here. He was 71. Orsoni was killed by a single gunshot to the heart, fired from a long gun. Hey, Swizzy, that's your speciality, eh? As you did in the Ukraine with Swiss sniper rifles at the Maidan uprisings. The investigations were taken over by Le Parquet National Anticriminalité Organisée, the prosecutor Nicolas Sept. But the French are not going to do anything. They never do anything. They say, oh, Corsica is far away and well, as long as they kill each other, then the problem will be solved. Just let them do it. There's nothing we can do. Why lose more men and material on it? No, if this is what they want to do, this is the way of French thinking anyway, And in the international newspapers, was not a word about this here. Nobody ever related it to the Carlos Montana, Jacques Moretti case. Nobody, except Homie Ross. That's why I'm shadow banned, Nobody's watching my videos. A lot of people are telling me or leaving a comment. They didn't even get a notice that there was a new film. Why am I still doing it anyway? I hardly get any views on it. And the things I'm asking you to send it around, nobody is doing it anyway, Why should I go on? So, but not even in the French media, they talked about it. Only very few. I heard it on a French radio because I speak and read and write French. It's like my second mother tongue, if you like, maybe even my first, because of my family of Saint Croix du Plessis. In South Africa, we spoke French at home a lot. And especially talking about the political things, historical things, we always did it in French. So I heard it on a French radio. It was not even on the big internet, television stuff, nothing, not a word. It's like even the French media and the French politics, even they do the omerta, the laws of silence around Corsica. But anyway, I picked it up. I understood Alain Orsoni. I even met him in Corsica. And of course I did. And then I saw January 12th. Click, click. Yes, ding. Of course, the Carlos Montana. 12 days later, he's the founder of the FLNC. No way this is not connected with it. No way. And then the way he was killed, from a couple of 100 meters, only one shot in the heart. I mean, this guy must have, or even a woman maybe, must have been very confident. Just give it one shot in the heart, That sounds like the MO of Octagon. Swizzy, just like the JFK murder, like sort of thing, That was Octagon, of course. So in the English website here on Alain Orsoni, here you can change the language like. There wasn't a word, or at least I didn't find it. I even went to the university in Paris. And I met a lot of Corsicans in these groups who were actually academics. So, here it says about Michel Moretti, the guy he was in the picture with just before. And it was his, so he died in 2008, Michel Moretti, when it was his best friend. And he was the soccer president here, the football president of AC Ajaccio. Athletic Club Ajaccio. You see, still with the Arab head, which was chopped off when the Corsican leader went to Africa, sailed to Africa, and got his wife back, and came back with the head of the. So that's where it's from. And this is interesting. So here are all the languages. Of course, French. And now here. I hear English, this is in French, Italian, okay. And here, Euskara, that's the Basque language. I mean, who the hell wants to put it in the Basque language? Well, that's because what I just told you, that they are teamed up together. The Basque nationalist separatist movement and the Corsicans. Yeah, Autodeterminatioren. So over there, he's a hero. And what other language? The Brittany language. I mean, who speaks Brittany language? Look at that. That's it's a Celt, the west of France, where they speak the same dialect as in Wales. They also teamed up with so that's their language. I don't understand the word. Maybe somebody in Wales understands this here. And what else? So this is the European separate independence freedom fighter movement altogether. Here, the Catalan language. I also met the Catalan people. I even went there in 2019 with my son. We went helping the Catalan independence movement. Here, this is the Catalan language. So some more, because they're all teamed up together. You can find that in Wikipedia that they are. Okay, and there was something else which I didn't understand. What is Volapük? I don't know what that is. Oh, come on, Volapük. I have no idea what that is. It's a bit like some Slavic language, I suppose. Look, there's even a professional football player, Michel Moretti, a young guy, and he's also a manager now of the CA Bastia, which is in the north of Corsica. And the other Michel Moretti, he was the manager of the director of the Ajaccio Football Club, the town where Napoleon was from, Ajaccio, the biggest town in Corsica. So it would be very important to know if they're all related to Jacques Moretti. I guess this year many more Corsicans will die because of the tragedy of the burn bar, and I fear the Moretti couple won't make it till the end of the year, and they know it. On January 23rd, 2026, Jacques Moretti got his 200,000 Swiss francs get out of jail free card somewhere out of Geneva. The same Swiss Geneva where in 1990 over 30 million Swiss francs were robbed in the heist of the century by the Corsican gang Brise de Mer, or Sea Wind, at the Geneva UBS Bank. And guess which Corsican gang tried to assassinate Alain Orsoni in 2008? Well, yeah, the Corsican Sea Wind gang did so. So here you see Corsica, which is really a very beautiful place. A lot of bullet holes in it. And here the word La Brise de Mer. Brise, it's like the English word a breeze. I don't know who was first. And Corsica is very beautiful. Even the French Legion likes it, as they have many bases there, several bases. So there are too many connections between the assassination of the FLNC leader on January 12th and the January 1st burn bar to ignore that the Constellation death count is now 42 and not see it. So 40 kids died on January 1st. Another kid, 18 years old, died in hospital a couple of days back. And here Alain Orsoni, he got assassinated on January 12th. So that's 42 death cases, all connected to this bar. So here you can read about the Sea Wind gang. In Corsican, it's called Brezza di Umare. And you see here, they're even in African countries like Gabon and Mali, Cameroon, Latin American countries, of course, and Italy. They're about here, La Brise de Mer, the sea breeze. That's what it means. The territory, they're everywhere, Argentina, North Africa, France. And here it says, the gang is well known for its violent robberies as well as conflicts with rival gangs in Corsica. And these include the robbery of a UBS bank in Geneva in 1990. Deadly shootout with a rival gang member near a Security Post truck in 1991, and the 1992 robbery of an Air France Mercure plane. They're also suspected in the murders of the members of Armata Corsa, a separate Corsican armed group. It's quite heavy. And nobody ever heard about this. You see, the allies are the FLNC, the nationalist stuff. And also the Sicilian Mafia, the 'Ndrangheta, Clan del Golfo, American Mafia, and probably a lot more about which we don't even know about it. So you can read about it. I'm not going to read it all for you. The key events. In 2001, several gangsters escaped from a prison near Bastia, that's in Corsica, by sending fake faxes from a judge ordering their release. The conflict escalated in the mid-2000s. This followed the collapse of the Société Méditerranéenne de Sécurité, founded by former nationalist Antoine Nivaggioni and Yves Manunta. Financial dispute led Manunta to ally with the Petit Bar gang. Both were later assassinated. The feud intensified after a failed assassination attempt on Francis Mariani. In 2005, retaliation followed quickly. Richard Casanova was killed in 2008, the same year when they tried to kill Alain Orsoni by this gang, along with Pierre-Marie Santucci and Marie Costa. Oh, they're all dead apparently. Christophe Guazzelli took revenge years later by killing Tony Chilicini, Tony Le Boucher, that means Tony the Butcher, and Jean-Luc Codaccioni in 2017. The conflict reached far beyond Corsica. It pulled in criminal networks from Marseille, Aix-en-Provence, and the Paris region. There were also ties abroad, including links to France-Afrique, French Africa. It also involved figures such as Robert Feli-Tiagi, a businessman with African ties, who was also killed in 2006. Since 2008, several important suspected members of the gang, such as Richard Casanova, Daniel Vittini, Francis Mariani, Pierre-Marie Santucci, have been killed during violent conflicts among the various Corsican gangs. And here is the end of the website. So I suppose the Morettis, they won't make it until the end of the year. This website says Casse du siècle, it means the heist of the century. It's not in English, there's no other language here than French. It also shows the Glasgow-London train with Ronnie Biggs. That's also the heist of the century. And here are more heists. And here, Geneva, March 25th, 1990, and 31.4 million Swiss francs, 220 kilograms of bills. They were stolen from the UBS Swiss bank here, from Geneva. They never found the money. So they're all, Corse, it means Corsicans. You see that, the Arab head here. So they're all Corsicans, and Michel Ferrari, he only got 7 years in prison. And his part, 15 millions. Well, he never got it. Apparently the Corsicans, they all kept it. So here it says, the Brise de Mer, the gang behind it, the Sea Breeze. So 4 members got imprisoned: André Benedetti, Alexandre Chevrier, Joël Jacques Patacchini, or Patacchini, I don't know how to pronounce this. And, they made the heist of the century in Geneva. And then all of a sudden, Jacques Moretti, he get free out of prison card of 200,000 Swiss francs, and it was paid apparently in Geneva. Well, okay, that's quite clear, where he got it from, right? As we're talking about organized crime here. When I was in Corsica in the early 90s, at a certain point, I was reading the French book L'Instinct de Mort, about the famous French gangster Jacques Mérine. The book started with, "My God, please protect me from my friends. My enemies I will deal with myself." As the Corsicans saw, I liked the book, reading about Jacques Mérine doing one heist after the other. I was soon asked to join in on a big bank heist, which I politely refused, as I didn't see how loads of money would make me happier, as I'm a very modest man believing that a true revolutionary just needs a backpack with a tent, a sleeping bag, and a revolutionary book in it. As I've shown you in this video here from 12 years ago on my channel G.I.U.R.E.H by the title Wild Camping, Surviving Without Money, Hitchhiking, Wandering, Roaming and Homelessness. It's almost half an hour on my channel G.I.U.R.E.H from 2014. And here I even said it in French, SDF. Well, for me it means Scout de France, or Sans difficulté financière, or Samedi, Dimanche et Férié, always available, always free. SDF, it's the French word for a homeless. It means sans domicile fixe. But I had another way of saying it, so I was living modestly and I wasn't interested in doing any bank heist or things like that, as you can see here. My motto was, I don't have any money problems as I don't have any money, that is. I mean, how can you have problems with something you don't even have? So here it says, if money doesn't grow on trees, then why do banks have branches? Well, that's it. Money is just a thing to laugh about. Ain't that so, Donny? I had to refuse the proposed heist, in fact, more than politely, as one just doesn't refuse a thing like that, just like that, if you know what I mean. To refuse it was actually more dangerous than to participate. In 2008, this fantastic movie was made on the true life of Jacques Merin. And apparently the English title here is Killer Instinct. And here you can see how he got even arrested in America by the US police, or the highway patrol as they call it probably. So, of course this is from the movie, this is not the in true life. I mean, this is like from the 70s, you know. And, so here's his name, Merin. Most Frenchies say Mesrin, but he always said, my name is Merin and not Mesrin. Apparently it was important for him. The French really loved him and still do. He was a big hero. So here, this is what they say about it. The English American press. Kick, a wicked scary ride, the best gangster film of the year. Well, I can agree with that. Fantastic movie. There's also a part 2 called Public Enemy Number 1, which is also excellent, telling an amazing true story of Jacques Merin. So here it says, part 1, Killer Instinct, and part 2, Public Enemy Number 1. They're quite long movies, altogether probably like 5 hours. And actually, Killer Instinct and Public Enemy Number 1 are both parts of the same book. That book I was reading in Corsica by the name of Instinct de Mort. Killer Instinct, this one here, Instinct de Mort. And the second half of the book is the last chapters is called Public Enemy Number 1. So it's all part of the same book. He's a famous Hollywood actor, Vincent Cassel. He did really a very good job here in this movie. And this is what they say about it. Heart-stoppingly exciting, the most powerful film of the year, an instant gangster classic. I fully agree. One of the best gangster movies ever made. I'd estimate that about 90% of the Corsican and the Swiss Jura separatists joined the Corsican mafia, while still using the old military structures of the revolutionary Corsican and Jura liberation movement. And as all Corsicans understand and speak fluent Italian, they also teamed up with the Italian mob. But mind you, the Corsicans also have their own mafia, on which the American movie The French Connection from 1971 was made, and had nothing to do with the French people, as it was entirely Corsican, as the Corsicans smuggled drugs to America from 1937 till 1972. So here you can see about the film from 1971 with Gene Hackman, that guy, and Roy Schneider. A very famous film. You see, in the film it also plays about Marseille, and Marseille is the town on the continent in France, just on the other side of Corsica. So it's really showing the real story about the real French connection, which is this here. Now, I'll read it for you. The French Connection was a scheme through which heroin was smuggled from Indochina through Turkey to France and then to the United States and Canada. The operation started in the 1930s, reached its peak in the 1960s, and was dismantled in the 1970s. In 1971, they made the movie. It was responsible for providing the vast majority of the heroin used in the United States at the time, and the operation was headed by Corsicans. You see? There you go, the Corsicans. And like Antoine Guerini, Paul Carbone, they got like mafia names, So there is no French connection. It's a Corsican connection, and the Corsicans are Italians. The French, they don't do things like mafia. They're too much individualists. The French are. They do more things like crime passionnel, killing their wives or things like that. No, really, they do it. They call it femicide, a femicide, from the word la femme, the woman. And here's Spirito, another French, of the not very French connection. Here another French Corsican guy, Mondolini. You see, they don't have French names. Only the first name is French and the rest is Italian. Salvatore. Well, he's from the Italian. You said Marseille. It's all around Marseille. Just as today, and now it's getting more complicated. It's also the Arab gangs in Marseille. Here it says the Corsican gang, and they call it Unione Corsa. It's about the same as I've shown you in that graffiti on the wall in Corsica, with this, like in the Constellation bar. The C and the N, Corsica Nazione. And here you got Unione Corsa. It's just the other way around. So this is in the Corsican language. Here it's UC. So in those days, the bar would have started with a U and ended with a big C. If you see what I mean. So I'll let you look it up yourselves. Here the Unione Corsa. I go back to the other one about the French Connection. And the French, they don't even know how to deal with it. They have no idea how to deal with the Corsican mafia. So it really needs the DEA who have more experience with it. Here's the DEA, or the Narcotics Bureau, Sonny Grosso. I think it's the same. He was a film producer and a NYPD detective. I think it says here, the role in the case made famous in the book and film of the movie The French Connection. Same guy. So, I mean, the French could have warned, the world what was going on, like in Crans Montana, but they didn't. Because they can't deal with the mafia because it's not in their mind. And they have no real experience with it. They can't handle it. The French are more into the individualist thing. It needs the DEA to clean it all up. That's what I think. Or maybe ICE. So maybe ICE can do something better there than they do in Minnesota. So, you see, the French Connection is not a French Connection. The operation was headed by Corsicans. And there was a map somewhere. Here was the map. So first from Indochina, here is Indochina to, or here from Indochina to, over Turkey to France, and then here to the United States. And so that was amazing. There's something not even the Italian mafia could do. So the Corsican mafia is probably, they're more dangerous than the Italian mafia. And the Corsican omerta, it's far more better than it's completely tight. You don't hear a thing about it. Only Homie Ross is telling you about it here. You probably wouldn't even know otherwise. This is the omerta. And in the 1990s, there was the second French connection in real life, running all the way to the French government, infiltrated by the Corsicans and the criminal, corrupt French interior minister, Charles Pasqua, who even spoke fluent Corsican. So I can legally say he was a criminal and corrupted because he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Well, of course, he never did any time in prison. They all protect each other. So here's his name, Charles Pasqua. Spoke fluent Corsican. Here you see the octagon and a crown. This is the sun hieroglyph, the 101 if you want. So here's the O, and here's the 1, and here another 1. The Nazis had it with 2 wings, and it stands for Horus. And they do it especially, having a picture taken with this behind their heads, always behind their heads. So the Corsican mafia, they managed to infiltrate the French government. So you understand that this case in Crans Montana, it goes really deep, it goes really high. So here you can read about him. He was a French businessman and a politician. Well, it doesn't fit together, We know this now with Donny being a businessman and a politician. There's too much conflict of interest. And here it says, his paternal grandfather was a shepherd from Casavecchia, Corsica. And he could speak Corsican fluently. And as of 1987, his cousin served as the mayor of Casavecchia. They just give each other a good job, It's all nepotism. and he was the interior minister. It says he was interior minister from 1986 to 1988 under Jacques Chirac, and also from 1993 to 1995. And he was all the time, he was in corruption scandals. Here, in 2005, a US Senate report accused him, along with the British respect politician George Galloway, of profiting illegally from the UN's Oil for Food scheme that was about Iraq and the oil for food. He and in 2008, Pasqua was convicted of illegal lobbying in the Mitterrand-Pasqua affair, and he had to do 1 year in prison, and there was an appeal in 2011 when nobody talked about it anymore as usual, and then he was acquitted. Didn't do a single day in prison. It always goes like that. They all protect each other. So here you can read about it. The Mitterrand, the president, and Pasqua, the interior minister affair. And they called it the Angola Gate. So apparently it was a corruption scandal. It says arms shipments to Angola, and the French oil company ELF, they were in it, and they were getting oil back from Angola, apparently. And probably from Cabinda, which is next to Angola. I was there with the South African Army in the 80s. But this is in the 90s, so and there is this guy, a arms dealer, Pierre Falcone, or Falcone, it's also a Corsican or Italian name. And apparently there were a lot of Corsicans involved in the weapons trade to Angola. But it's hard to find everything. Apparently Arte Television, they did a documentary on it. So here about the Corsican Mafia. If you want to understand what happened in Crans, Montana, you must know all this. So first, in part 1, I showed you about the Corsican nationalists in the C and the N, Corsica Nazione. And here part 3 about the Mafia. And part 2 about the Swiss connection of the Jura separatists. So here it says the Corsican Mafia is an influential organized crime structure operating in France as well as in North African and Latin American countries. And they're very successful, as I told you before, because the French, they don't know what to do against it. That's why they are so successful. I guess the Italians understand much better how to do something against it because they are Italian. And here they collaborated, it says they collaborated with the Nazi Gestapo in occupied France. Yeah. Nice fellows, aren't they? And the Allies, the American Mafia, Camorra, Lebanese Mafia, Le Milieu, Ndrangheta, the Sicilian Mafia. And the Swiss Mafia, of course. And here the Corsican Mafia today, prostitution, racketeering, drug dealing. I'll tell you some more about it. And here it says violence is frequent. The Corsican Mafia. Corsica is the region of Europe with the highest homicide rate per inhabitant. I told you that before. And here the French connection. He died in Argentina. the French don't have a clue what to do against them because they really keep silent. And the Corsican mafia wins over the French Republic. That's quite clear. They even have got their man inside the French government as the interior minister. The interior minister, he should do something against it. But they had him in his pocket, Charles Pasqua. And Pasqua, it's a Corsican word and it means Easter. So we see here examples of the extremely powerful Corsican mafia who infiltrate the highest level of French politics, join Freemasonry, just like their Italian brothers, as I've shown you in some of my videos before. They bribe politicians, deal drugs and prostitution, just as we see the Corsican crime syndicate happening today in Switzerland, the motherland of all mafia. Through the Swiss Nazi Templar banks, Swiss corruption and Swiss nepotism, with 40 young people dead on January the 1st of 2026. Yes, the owners of the Constellation Bar are the Corsican gangsters Jacques and Jessica Moretti, who got already sentenced to prison in France for prostitution and other. It is very easy to understand why the Swiss authorities protect the convicted criminal Jacques Moretti of the Corsican Mafia. 1. I've already proven you that the owner of the Constellation Bar is a Freemasoner, and so are the Swiss authorities, of course. And 2. Switzerland was founded by the Knights Templars in 1291. The global mafia comes out of the Templars, and so does the Freemasonry, thus being the political wing of the Knights Templars. So Switzerland, the mafia, and Freemasonry are all Templar babies, coming all out of the same evil womb of the principality, as the Templars were the evil princes, fighting and conspiring against the king. And Switzerland happens to be their sovereign temple and principality of all three of them, Mafia, Templars, and Freemasonry. Switzerland is the constellation and mother planet, with all other affiliated stars and moons around converging towards it, like the true center of all evil. A fact they all try to suffocate by all sorts of mafia omerta and Swiss laws of silence. Like the images from all 250 cameras mysteriously but collectively erased in Cannes, Montana, all wiped clean. Here we can see the Swiss laws of silence in action, quietly, unseen, without a noise, eliminates all proofs, whitewashing all fingerprints, because Switzerland is to remain clean, neutral, innocent, unheard, and unseen. Always the same MO, modus operandi. So you see the camera, it says delete. It says Carlos Montana, Swiss Laws of Silence in Action 2026. 250 cameras deleted, all footage erased. And you see, they do it collectively, as I told you. It's such a creepy country. It's unbelievable. So here you can read about it, 2026 Carlos Montana bar fire in Wikipedia. So those who don't like Wikipedia, just close your ears, stuff your ears and put something on your eyes, or just go away and go somewhere else, you know. Anyway, it was in all the newspapers, but I don't want their cookies, so I don't open any more newspapers. So here you see the citizenship of all the people who, the kids who died, 40 in total. And here it is, or you can look it up yourself or punch pause. Yeah, there we go. On January 27th, Swiss authorities agreed to Italy's request to establish a joint investigation team, the G.I.T, Joint Italian Team, or Joint Investigation Team, a JIT, the jitterbug. Joint investigation team into the fire, according to the Swiss Federal Office of Justice. Listen, on the same day as the Italians were going to come, the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, the newspaper from Zurich, or one of them, reported that the municipal police no longer had access to the images from at least 250 public cameras. Cantonal police, so that's a bit higher, the canton is bigger than the village or the town, the whole region, the canton, had secured some recordings while other footage had mysteriously disappeared. This is so they didn't want the Italians to see this. The Italians were coming, okay, and then the Swissies just had to disappear and vanished, erase all the fingerprints, wipe it all clean. It's always going on in this country. I know it by now, I always, like with the Nazi gold, nobody knows anything, and all the papers just disappear and get burned, and so well, you can read it yourself and find it. The name of it was. So don't complain in the comments you don't like Wikipedia. Just go somewhere else, and take the Trump lovers with you. I don't want to see them anymore here either. Basta, finished. So that's the title. You can find it yourself. Remember my video here that the mafia comes out of the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars founding Swaziland, and now all together here in a terrible murder case on 40 young children committed by corrupt Swiss state officials, the Corsican Mafia, and the Swiss Nazi Templar banks, all holding tight in the Mafia's Omerta code of silence that has always surrounded Swaziland and comes out of the laws of silence by Godefroy de Saint-Omer, as I've proven you in the video. So here you see, you can read it, Omerta, red and white, Templars colors, right? And here is the entire video. It's only 8 hours. I've shown it to you before. It's very important. So here's the title, The Swiss Beast, Home of the Devil, Part 8, Pharaoh's Worldwide Templar Mafia, on my channel, Homeland Security. And if you want to see the other parts of the Swiss Beast series, because this is part 1, so here is part 1, the link is here, and all the links, or almost all the links of all the other parts are here. So then you got the whole story. See, there are more than 20 parts, I think. Yeah. Our pharaonic masters have a legal mafia like the police, politician, justice department, banks, and authority. And they have an illegal mafia to do the things their legal mafia cannot do without arousing too much suspicion, leading the slaves to distrust the system. Their legal mafia is led by the free more sinners, while their illegal mafia derives directly out of the Knights Templars with their main base Swaziland high up in the strategical Alps. And in reality, their legal mafia and their illegal mafia, they work together as the two hands of the same body or the two wings of the same bird. And we can see it happening now. Open up your eyes, it's happening. They erase 250 cameras, etc., etc. It's happening. Open your eyes. And I've been telling you this for 15 years here. You will not understand what's happening in Crans, Montana right now, and why the Swiss authorities are behaving as strangely as they do. If you haven't seen my videos and haven't invested about a week of watching my videos about the Templars creating the mafia and founding Switzerland, my videos in Corsica, my videos about the Swiss Octagon Templars financing the Nazis, my videos about the Swiss financing Hamas, and to know that Hamas and Hezbollah already are in the drug business together with the mafia and all connected to Swaziland, the mother of all mafias and the literal home of all evil. If you don't know and don't understand all this and a lot more, then you will never ever understand why 4 kids had to die in the Alps of the Swiss beast. But unfortunately, no judge, no lawyer, no politician, no newspaper, and no truth commission will look into all the evidence I brought together over the years, and which is the only key to solve the murder on 40 kids in Swaziland. Why else do you think the Swiss tried to murder me in 2024 in France and sent me a hit team Swiss murder squad, as they also did in 2011? So here you can see the title, it's on the same channel. And you can read some more about it. I made it October 2024, just after it happened. In Swaziland, only money and profit are important. They just can't get enough of it. And the Swissies' very first thought is, we're gonna lose money here. So we better go into damage control mode, be silent, and do the collective Omerta laws of silence. The Swissies fear there will be a class action lawsuit coming with millions to pay. So instead of honestly admitting that they made a mistake and under law committed deadly negligence, they collectively sabotage the affair, hoping to win time by a collective Swiss silence called the Omerta. In this video, I've explained how all is done collectively in Swaziland, and now we can see a perfect example of the Swiss collectivity or collectiveness, which is in fact just another word for a conspiracy. So here is the title, and here, this is interesting, here you see part of the logo of the CIA. It says here, white trade, black ops. And we got the first director was Alan Dulles of Swiss descent. And we can see here the logo of the coat of arms of the CIA, which is the system of Swaziland. So those who speak German in Swaziland, they can infiltrate to the north, to Germany. Those who speak French can infiltrate to the west, to France, and do their wrongdoings. Those who speak Italian can infiltrate to the south, to Italy, infiltrate and take over, undermine. And those who speak Rheto-Romanic, the fourth language, they can do their wrongdoings to the east. The Knights Templars Brotherhood was and still is a very conspirative organization that founded both Swaziland and the Mafia at the very same time at the end of the Crusades in 1291 in order to set new objectives for the time after, which is, in this case, after the Crusades. Just like the Nazis set new objectives after 1945 by using Operation Paperclip, the Mafia, for the time after, went into business buying real estate, houses, bars, and restaurants, as in this very case of the Corsican Constellation Bar, in which we smell nepotism, corruption, payoffs, and bribery, with both Templar children, Mafia, and Swiss authorities burying themselves in silence after perfect Templar tradition of the Omerta. And here we have a rare glance to see them all three together, Templars, Mafia, and the Swiss, in typical silent mode, and all three doing the same thing. So here you see the Templars, here the Swiss, and here the Mafia. And the Swiss and the Mafia both coming out of the Knights Templars. And all three do the laws of silence, the Omerta. Switzerland is a so-called decentralized system, where there's absolutely no control from above, as in most countries, like France, for example, which is very centralized and controlled out of Paris. Therefore, in Crans-Montana, the local authorities can do whatever they want, without anyone looking at their fingers, or in this very case, without anyone looking into their pockets. So it says, Crans-Montana, decentralized Swaziland. And here's the fire in Crans-Montana on January the 1st. So the Swiss are very proud of it, to be decentralized. You know, they always say, well, the European community, it's so centralized from out of Brussels. You have to take orders. We like to make our local decisions. Well, look what happened with their local decisions. It's a catastrophe. And by the way, for those who are interested in the secret messages in the logos, the Swiss emergency rescue choppers of Crans-Montana have this logo of 3 squares for the concept of 3 and 4, saying square and compass of the 3 more sinners. So here you can see the chopper, and they got them all over Swaziland, as the flag announces. They are called Rega, has 4 letters. And here you got 3 squares in red and also in white. Well, the square, it already says it, like square and compass. It has 4 sides and also 4 corners. So the 3 more sinners call it the concept of 4. And as there are 3 of them, there's also the concept of 3, which stands for the compass, because the compass in their logo of square and compass, it stands at approximately 60 degrees. And with 60 degrees, you can make a triangle with 3 corners of like 60 degrees. So this and a triangle has 3 corners and 3 sides, which is the concept of 3. And the latest model of the Swiss Rega rescue choppers, they look like this. It's a drone. You see here the logo with 3 squares here in white. And so they're having drones now. I'm not sure where they're going to put the patients, though. The Corsican owners of the Swiss bar are Jacques and Jessica Moretti, and you won't find much in the internet if you do a simple name search. But if you insert it together with that political movement I just told you about, what you can see here, there are a lot of Corsican FLNC hitmen coming out, like Georges Moretti, and there's also a criminal or maybe a hitman, Anto Moretti, and some more, all in connection to the FLNC. So here you can see that there was a George Moretti. He was a historic militant of the National Liberation Front of Corsica, the FLNC, involved in the armed struggle during the 1980s. He was notably implicated in a 1984 commando action in the Ajaccio prison, which was carried out in retaliation for the death of fellow nationalist G.I.U.R.E.H. You remember, that was the brother of Alain Orsoni, who got killed 12 days after the Crans-Montana tragedy. And the FLNC has been the primary armed separatist group in Corsica since 1976. So George Moretti was a known figure within the militant nationalist movement during a period of intense activity and internal conflict in the 1980s and 90s, and in 1984. And in the end, he got killed as well. And there's even a Jean-Mathieu Moretti. I don't know who that is. So here you see a long list of people getting assassinated in Corsica. It's only in French. Here you see there's no other languages. But it doesn't matter. It's all names ending with an I, as you can see here. Romanetti, Tiglioli, Memi, Massimi, Mariani, Rutili, Orsoni, Moretti. So it doesn't matter if it's in English or in French. It's all with an I in the end. And I don't get it. They talk about nationalism. So you would say they team up together. No, but what they do, they kill each other. Is that nationalism? No, it's not nationalism. Look here, Brise de Mer, the gang of the Sea Breeze gang. And okay, sometimes there might be a reason, for an assassination, but these are no good reasons. It's nonsense what they're doing. And if they want, to be free of France, like separatism, it will get even worse if there's no more control from Paris. That will, well, they probably kill each other, until there's nobody left. So hey, this is what I wanted to show you. In 2014, Georges Moretti, the guy I just showed you before, a national militant, and he got assassinated on April the 14th. And he was also apparently a friend of Alain Orsoni, the guy who died 12 days after the tragedy. So you see, all these Morettis, they're every time the same name, popping up. So I would say, if where there's smoke, there's fire, the old saying. And in Crans Montana, there certainly was a lot of smoke and fire. So here the last one, Alain Orsoni. There you are. So here's another Moretti, Antosimonu Moretti. He has to go to the court. And here G.I.U.R.E.H. So apparently he tried to kill also Alain Orsoni. It said somewhere. Yeah, here, quand Alain Orsoni échappait à un projet d'assassinat en Corse par le clan du Petit Bar. Well, anyway, there are at least next to the Jacques Moretti, at least 3 other Morettis. Georges Moretti, Anto Moretti, Michel Moretti, they're all in big time crime and nationalism, assassinations. So, yeah, so I wonder, are they all related? Must be. As I told you, many Corsican revolutionaries went into crime, betraying the revolutionary values, which the real Corsican revolutionaries, and myself too, hate. Because the real Corsican revolutionaries want honor, justice, and freedom. And they hate drugs and prostitution and mafia. And see freedom fighters who join the mafia as traitors of the cause. And so do I. Therefore, I'm telling you all this because me too. I hate drugs, prostitution, and those traitors who betrayed a good cause to become mafiosi. And when I was there, I heard it becoming an ever more greater problem of the mafia snatching away more and more members, literally destroying the movement. In YouTube, they even talk about the brothers Moretti being hitmen for the FLNC in Corsica. So is this Jacques Moretti a member of the same Moretti clan. So here you can see it in YouTube. Here, see Antoine Moretti. Also, they're looking for him because of an assassination, apparently. This is the local television of France 3 in 2018. The Swissies visibly no more, but they keep the lid on out of financial reasons. In a logo, nothing is accidental and always gives a message to insiders, whether being Masonic or other secret societies like the Mafia, who both come out of the Templars. Logos are in fact part of the Omerta. The name of the death bar is Latin, the constellation, where con means with, and stellation from stella, meaning star, with the stars as a direct connection to the red Soviet star in the logo and the communist character of the FLNC-IRA-ETARAF and the rest of the socialist revolutionaries of Europe, but also indicating a drugs ring, similar to a celestial constellation of stars with the mother planet where the imported drugs get distributed, and around it the planet's myriad of moons to distribute the drugs on some street corner of Lausanne, the nearest big town that has become a real drugs hub, probably the biggest in Swaziland at the moment. So it's all hidden in the name and logo, giving the indications on what it's all about for those who can read the logo and interpret the name. It's so obvious that the Swissies hope that the Moretti couple leave Swaziland for France, where they can't get extradited. So the Swissies can blame it all on the Morettis, making Swaziland clean again. And remember how Napoleon was from Corsica and had the hidden hand in Freemasonry style. So Freemasonry in Corsica being very real and powerful, who traditionally practice the Omerta, as they come out of the Knights Templars, like the Mafia and like the Swissies. Here you can see the Freemason logo of the very expensive Swiss lawyer of the families of the murdered children. You can read his name here as well. So you think he's gonna do something for justice? Well, not very likely, is it now, eh? So here's his logo. Let's analyze it. So we see here the 3 lines for the concept of 3, which stands for the compass. And here he just put here a random square. Why would he do that, eh? Well, the square, as it says, from the square and compass, it's the concept of 4 with 4 corners and 4 sides. So only with this and this, like Napoleon with his hidden hand, it says square and compass. And of course, he needs to put the Swiss cross in it, like all the goodies they're selling. As I've shown you in my video, it's so great to be Swiss. And look at this here, a horizontal red line. Now, why would he do that? Why? There's a reason. Well, actually, it stands for the Red House, the Per Tasser, the Red House of Pharaoh. But there's a problem. The Red House is not horizontal, it's vertical. Now, what does it mean that he puts the vertical Red House of Pharaoh here in a red horizontal line? That means that the vertical rule pharaohs who want to have a king back and an emperor, they're using the horizontal rule of the republic to get the king back in the saddle, back in power. Just as Donny is doing it right now in America. He's destroying the horizontal rule here, the American Republic, and he's replacing it more and more with the Red House. They have infiltrated the Republic in this internal war between the horizontal and the vertical rule. I mean, why else would he put a red line here, horizontal? Hey? Come on. He's going to do nothing, I'm sure, for the families of the children. I mean, the logo says it all, that he's not going to do anything. He's probably more into shaking hands with the Corsican mafia and Napoleon sort of hidden hand and Omerta sort of stuff, you know. The French connection too of the 1990s and the year 2000s goes very deep into the highest levels of politics and commerce, and is in fact still ongoing, and now culminating into the Crans-Montana affair related to the very powerful Corsican mafia. It would take me a 10-hour video to explain that all, but as this video is specifically about the burn bar of Swaziland, I will just give you the general idea and reserve a potential part for the total analysis. Based upon my openly revolutionary conviction, my academic historical background, my military experience in Angola and elsewhere, and my knowledge of the French language, I was assigned to find out more about the huge oil for food corruption from 1995 until 2003, involving the Corsican mafia and the French Interior Minister Charles Pasqua, who even spoke fluent Corsican. And to the right-hand side here, go watch the superb movie Backstabbing for Beginners from 2018 in order to have a general idea to understand what it's all about in general. Only the movie lacks the knowledge about the Corsican mafia involvement, which for the time being I'll show you very briefly here. So here you see the Corsican Charles Pasqua. It says oil for food corruption. And this is the video Backstabbing for Beginners, which is really worth it. A political thriller based upon real facts. Only they didn't know all the facts, but nevertheless, excellent movie. So this guy here, Jean-Bernard Mérimée, a former French ambassador to the UN, he was investigated. And also here it says the Interior Minister Charles Pasqua. And then there was also the UN bombing here. I'll tell you some more about it in a minute. Here, the UN bombing on August 19, 2003, a suicide attack on the UN office in Baghdad, killing 22 people, including the head of mission, Sergio Vieira de Mello, which changed UN operations, but was not okay. And here it says the Oil for Food program. So here, the Oil for Food program. And why am I showing you this? Because this Corsican Charles Pasqua, the interior minister, he was, he's not alive anymore, but he was part of the Corsican mafia. And it's very important, which is related to the Crans-Montana case of Moretti. And we can see the Swiss authorities, they're trying to stall everything, and they're doing the Swiss laws of silence and everything. So I'm just need to show you how the Corsican mafia even infiltrated the French government. Here's some other people, including Bernard Guillet, an aide to the French Senator Charles Pasqua, are also under formal investigation. Guillet and Pasqua deny any wrongdoing. So here's a whole article about the criminal investigation in France. And this was a huge scandal. There was too much money involved, and in the chaos of war, because of the oil, of course, too much money involved, and because of the chaos of the war, there was no more control, and very bad situation. So the oil for food thing, it is in a way very much related to Crans-Montana, because both relate back to the Corsican mafia and how they infiltrated politics to the highest level, which is really important to know now in this case in Crans-Montana, because we can see it happening, how the Swiss authorities, how they've teamed up with the Corsican mafia, basically. So back to this picture, it says here the French connection to, here we see Charles Pasqua 2 times in French Parliament. It says the Corsican Charles Pasqua, French Interior Minister. And, sometimes, like the case of Crans-Montana, an event sometimes, which it happens that an event blows off the lid of something deeper, which is no coincidence, really. It's a sort of synchronicity. And this is what I'm trying to show you, that the Crans-Montana event hopefully will blow off the lid of something much deeper. The Swiss connection, the French connection, the Corsican connection, and the whole miserable thing we are living in. And so the UN bombing in Baghdad on August 19th, 2003, killing 22 people, including the head of mission, Sergio Vieira de Mello, was not orchestrated by some Al-Qaeda-like Arab terrorist organization, as the official story goes, but it was done to eliminate all UN witnesses into the huge oil for food corruption scandal involving Charles Pasqua and the Corsican mafia. It should therefore be obvious that no Arab terrorist organization would sabotage food for the Iraqi people through the intermediary of the abundant Iraqi oil reserves. So here you can read about the Baghdad bombing, about the oil for food thing. I mean, that's what it was about. And it's very much related to the Corsican Mafia and the Crans-Montana tragedy. And I mean, the French should have warned everybody, the Italians, they should have warned Swaziland about the Corsicans being there, but they didn't. And why? Well, as I just shown you, the Corsican Mafia, they've infiltrated all the way up to the French government. So they are protected by the French government and by the French authorities. And this is why they can just go on and even be involved in these sort of things, in the oil for food and etc., etc. And also the police and the French authorities, I think even the head of the French anti-terrorist police, he is also Corsican. Can you believe it? So they're all protecting the Corsican Mafia. But the French authorities, they do not protect the Corsican nationalists, because that's another thing. And in my opinion, they are the real Corsicans. There are quite some good people there. The Corsican Mafia, no, they're no good people. Corsican nationalists, yeah, sure. Also, because the Corsican nationalists is the people. But the Corsican Mafia, as I explained you, it comes out of the Knights Templars and the Freemasons and the principalities of Pharaoh's nobility. In spite of the fact they talk the same language, they look the same. And this is what Corsican nationalists should understand. I tried to warn them, but they didn't understand it. And unfortunately, as I told you, more and more Corsican nationalists, they end up in the mafia. And the Corsican nationalist idea and movement, it's gone. So I tell you some more. Here it says about Corse-Afrique, about Robert Feliciagi, Michel Tommy, they're all Corsicans, and all related to Charles Pasqua. And here, Annemasse, which is right near, it's at the Swiss border, next to Geneva, and it's right next to where Moretti, it's 40 kilometers away, where Moretti, he was sentenced because of prostitution in France. So it's the same area where the Corsican Mafia, they had a casino here, the Casino d'Annemasse. And here, pétrole contre nourriture, oil for petrol, Charles Pasqua. So the whole thing is related. And this is the only way, to understand how deep it all goes and to understand why the Swiss authorities are protecting it all. Let's see, here's some more. Well, there's a lot of articles on Charles Pasqua, but they all demand cookies, so I don't want to open it up. And already in the 1970s and 1980s, Charles Pasqua was involved in a huge corruption scandal about, yes, same thing, oil again. The name of the scandal was Corse-Afrique, as you can see here on top, meaning Corsica, Africa, involving the French oil company ELF. French President Giscard d'Estaing, here you can see him, the picture here, here's his name, Giscard d'Estaing, and ethnic Corsican communities living in Gabon, Congo, Central Africa, and all over French colonial Africa of the so-called Corsican diaspora, involving names like André Tarallo, the Felicciaggi brothers Charles and Robert, Pointe-Noire, Focard, Sassou Nguesso, Bongo, Jean-G Colonna, Richard Casanova, Sam 92, and Michel Tommy, about whom you can read here. Michel Tommy, he's Corsican. And it's in French, but never mind. You see, there's no other languages here. If I punch it, no, there are no languages. And here it says the organized Corsican crime, Corse, it means Corsican. And in Africa, Subsaharienne. And look how parrain, it means the godfather. He's called the godfathers of godfathers. Here you can see it, the boss, the underboss, just like the Knights Templars. And they're the soldiers, the capo regime, underboss. Same system as the Knights Templars, only they had families at that time, as I've shown you in the video. So it says, le parrain de parrain, he's the godfather of the godfathers. Here, Corse, the Corsican godfathers. And he's living in Africa. And you can read it. He's the brother of Paul-Antoine Tommy. He's an officer of the Direction Générale de la Sécurité de l'Intérieur, of the interior security of France, and also a member of the commissioners of the French police. So they completely undermined the French authorities. DGSI, I think it's something like, they gave it a new name. Before there was DST, Direction de Sécurité Territoire. So that's MI5. He's an officer in the, high officer in the MI5, the Corsicans. And his brother is the godfather of the godfather. Oh, okay, there you go. And they're all brothers anyway, they will never let each other down. And you see about his activities in Africa, activité en Afrique. Here, this guy, Robert Felicciaggi, who had this casino right next to, and maybe in the same town, right next to where Jacques Moretti in Haute-Savoie, next to Geneva was. Again, Geneva, where the money came from get out of prison free. Here, the presidents, Omar Bongo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, well, they got them all in their pockets, eh? And which is quite easy in Africa, apparently. And here, the Casino d'Annemasse belonged to them, making a lot of money. And here he is again, Charles Pasqua, there he is. Après de procédures très médiatisées en France, où le journal Le Monde le décrit comme l'un des derniers parrains à l'ancienne Corse, il a finalement condamné aux côtés de Charles Pasqua. So he financed his political activities, So he was sentenced next to Charles Pasqua to 18 months in prison, and but he wasn't there because he went to Africa. I think he's living in Gabon, Gabon, Western Africa. So Le Monde describes him as one of the old school godfathers, parrain à l'ancienne. And so you got the Corsican mafia, got politics, the French parliament, the French authorities, The French MI5 were there to supposedly to protect France from them. They got them all in their pockets. So we can see the same thing in Crans-Montana. So here we see it again, Corse Afrique. And here, Robert Feliciagi. Well, Jacques Moretti, he knows him for sure. Eh? And I mean, these Corse Afrique, they're all affairs from the 1970s and 1980s. And why is it still actual? Because no one ever got sentenced, no one got sent to prison. Even this guy here, Charles Pasqua, where he got sentenced to 8 months, but he never did a day, as usual. Oh yeah, there's also the Angola Gate here. The name Charles Pasqua again. So the other time it was oil for food, and here it's oil for weapons. You know, I mean, next to Angola, and I was there. There is Cabinda, and Cabinda is it's very small in between Angola and Namibia, and they found a lot of oil there. Now the Chinese are there. It's only Chinese like. Here again, Charles Pasqua. And this is also really big, but you don't find anything anymore about it, you know. And if you find something, it's only in French. So here's a lot more, maybe in old newspapers here, but again, I can't open it because they all want cookies. So, but I know about these affairs, so. Charles Pasqua. All the time. Here, Charles Pasqua. The godfather of the godfathers, next to the other guy told me, who's still alive. He's living in, he's probably the guy who gave the money to get out of prison, free out of prison card to Jacques Moretti. So this is very interesting here. The Corsicans, they tried to kill this guy here, the president, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. I went to his castle, it's in my channel. And in 1981, in Ajaccio, they tried to bomb him. Why? Because Giscard d'Estaing is originally from a line of French kings, and so is his wife, openly, because he refused the autonomy of Corsica in 1978. Why did he do so? Well, as I told you, these pharaohs, our masters, they have a legal mafia, like the authorities, the police and all that. I also have an illegal mafia, which is the mafia, and they need this for all their affairs and, you know, for all their descendants who all need money and a big car and a villa. You know, so they need the Corsican mafia. And if he would have given the autonomy, the independence of Corsica, the Corsican nationalists, they would have get rid of the mafia. They would have done them all, you know. And this is something that the masters and the French government, they don't want that to happen, because they are friends with the mafia. They need the mafia to do bombings like in Baghdad and all these sort of things, and then shove it down the throat to some Islamic terrorists and all that, who have no reason whatsoever, you know, for the Iraqi people not to have their food on the table. So this is what's actually going on. So I hope, real Corsican nationalists, I hope you're watching this and understand that I'm by your side. You know, I'm not a traitor, but I don't like drugs. I don't like 40 kids getting murdered. I don't like prostitution. I don't like mafia. I don't like corrupt politics. Corsican independence, yeah, I'm at your side. I always was. So you can see the French president of that time, from 1974 to 1981. I went to that castle also in that French forest next to Paris, where was held the first G6 meetings in history, which he organized. And here, Giscard d'Estaing, Estaing is the town, and I went there where the castle is. And this actually means de Estaing. It means from Estaing. It means he is of the nobility with this de. But because this is a vocal, you get the you get it like that. And the apostrophe. That it doesn't say here that he's there. They are covering it up that he's from a line of kings, or maybe I didn't read it all here. But here's the Knight of Saint John of Jerusalem, Knights Templars. Yeah, he's the illegitimate son of Charles d'Estaing from the Middle Ages. You know, and well, there's some more. It says he was in the French resistance. I'll forget about that. You know, they all were. Yeah, and then they take another one of them. He said, "Yeah, he was. We both was." You know, so they protect each other. You know, they give each other the. It's how they always do that. He was. He had all this here. This is about Africa. Oh, full of corruption, all that. You know, everywhere. Yes, again, Gabon, where the Corsicans are. It's about the oil. Where did I see that? Yeah. Would continue delivering all to France. Well, what can France give back? Well, weapons. Well, they got good weapons, the Frenchies have. Very good. It's like monopoly. You know, you give me Africa, I give you a part of France, you know, how much you want. You know, it's like monopoly. Together with the free out of prison card. Oh, that's the castle where I was here. That is the town of Estaing. Nice castle. And, so where his ancestry had lived for hundreds of years. There's his coat of arms here. You see the faces with an X on it, which is actually a Republican. Oh, I just showed you that he has ancestors who were like Templars. And this is a Templar thing. That means one for all and all for one. As you know, all the branches are together. You see, they're tied together because one branch you can break it, but all branches together you can't break it. Which means all for one and one for all. Or where we go one, we go all. It's even two of these in the American Senate, the French Senate, and it has an X because the union is their power. You know, all directions. To the north, like Switzerland. To the west, who speak French, those who speak, and to the south. Well, this is very Roman, so this is to the south. Those who speak German to the north and Rheto-Romanic to the east. I mean, why do it like this, you know? You only need an X going this side, but at the same time, they're showing Switzerland and also the CIA. Yeah, look, this is all the honors he got, all the medals from all these countries. The Order of the Merit of the Republic of Poland, the Order of St. James of the Sword, the Order of the Liberator. Because this is the high nobility, very high. It's like the vertical rule who take a part of the horizontal rule and the key position and top position as a president in the horizontal rule of the Republic. So here again, the French connection won. So we might assume the French connection won is about drugs, about opium and heroin. Then the French connection 2 was about oil. And here you can read it. The illegal heroin labs were first discovered near Marseille, France. And actually, I visited Corsicans in Marseille and in Nice. The whole, everything, bars and everything, restaurant, it all belongs to Corsicans. and in 1937. These labs were run by Corsican gang leader Paul Carbone. For years, the Corsican underworld had been involved in the manufacturing and trafficking of heroin, primarily to the United States. It was this heroin network that eventually became known as the French Connection. The Corsican gang was protected by the Central Intelligence Agency, or better known as the Cocaine Import Agency, and the SDECE after World War II, in exchange for working to prevent French communists from bringing the old port of Marseille under their control. So you see here again the CIA, well, we know it that they import drugs into America. They imported it from Vietnam as well. It's all known. So, hey, Donnie. So forget about the cartels, Donnie. It's your own CIA, Donnie. And historically, the raw material for most of the heroin consumed in the United States came from Indochina, then Turkey. And here, the Marseille heroin was considered high quality. High Corsican quality. And here's the name again, Jean-G, 1970s. There must be Charles Pasqua in it here as well. But he was in it. So here is the French side here about the organized Corsican crime. And which is interesting. I'll let you read it yourself if you can. And I just scroll down a bit more quicker. Okay, here we are. So their relation with political structures of the Corsican mafia, it says here. And here he is again, Charles Pasqua. And he knows the gangsters Michel Tomi and Robert Feliciaggi. And also the relation with police and justice. You know, they infiltrated everything. And this is why we never hear anything about this enormously powerful Corsican mafia. Because they are protected by the French authorities, by the French politics, because they infiltrated it all. They're in it, you know, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, this here. And here as well, they... about le gendarme Lionel Lavergne, ancien chef du GSPR. That's also an important thing for the protection of France. And this here is about the three more sinners. This one, Dominique Luciani of the Corsican Mafia. And they found him in this lodge here. You see there, the square and compass. So you see, it's all related. And here you can read their specialities, what they do about everything. Only the bombing is the nationalists who do it for them some more and more now. So this is interesting. Look, this is in French here. If I put it in, so you saw how long it was. If I put it in English here, you know, look how short it is. It's absolutely nothing. Well, that's already the end, finished. Very short. And then in French, well, I just showed that to you. Charles Pasqua's Corsican Mafia had and probably still have a casino in Annemasse of the Savoy region in France, next to Geneva, where 40 kilometers away, Jacques Moretti got sentenced in Annecy for prostitution, which is illegal in France, but totally legal in Swaziland. So you see, there are important heads behind the screens who fear that the Crans Montana case will burst open. the whole stinking conglomerate of rotten politics, corporatisms, big business, and mafia. Sounds familiar, Donny? Guess it does, huh? So here you see Geneva, where the get out of prison free card got delivered, and the casino of the Corsican Mafia is just 10 minutes away here in Annemasse. So it's quite obvious they just came here to Geneva. They dropped the money for was it 200,000 or 400,000 Swiss francs, so Moretti could get out of prison. And they just dropped it off at the Justice Department or something like this. And here's Annecy, where he got sentenced. It might very well be that his prostitution hotel where he was having was also in Annemasse, next to Geneva. You know, well, I mean, they know where the money is, eh? With the big perpetrators always protected by the system, it is understandable that people take the law into their own hands and liberation movements rise up. Like when I was at the Giornate Internazionale in Corsica in the mid-90s. At a certain moment, I was with a group of Basques who were high on their Basque national drink they called calimocho, consisting of 50% red wine and 50% Coca-Cola. Through the sugar, the alcohol gets uncontrollably fast into the blood, thus smoothing the conversation about all sorts of things. And I was talking to a group of young Basque women telling me how they seduced Spanish cops and afterwards executed them in bed, while giggling on their calimochos with a wine bottle in one hand and a Coke bottle in the other. This happens when people lose faith in the justice system, like in America under Donny's ICE stormtroopers, or seeing these sort of logos of heavily paid lawyers supposed to defend 40 murdered kids. Well, to me, an obvious outcome. Now, 4 weeks later, the Swissies arrested the Corsican Constellation guy and put him in pre-trial custody, and then let him loose again, with, of course, the Swiss authorities responsible for this huge crime will never see the inside of a prison cell, thus keeping up the veil that hides the true face of Swaziland, that is far from being a clean, neutral, and innocent Swaziland. Swaziland is not a clean, innocent, neutral country, but Swaziland is a sovereign temple for the global elite.